Sasan, it is 4 top 8. Nathaniel Red mulliganing to 6. This deck does mulligan sometimes. Winner in top 8. Nathaniel, though, on the play is going to start with Ancient Tomb, taking 2, going to 18. Chalice of the Void on 1, passes.
That's an average start.
Itai could play through this. He does have Cavern of Souls, and he is going to do it. Cavern of Souls, naming human, plays Mother of Runes.
Okay.
Yeah.
It is noteworthy that this shuts off Aether Vial entirely.
Right, so he has to play some pretty fair magic. Whereas Nathaniel has no illusion of doing anything fair. See a Blood Moon, looks like it's hanging out in his hand. He can make that on turn 2. But a lot of these lock pieces, you see Chalice for 1, okay, I'll Cavern a guy. Blood Moon, okay, I'll play some Plains. You see Nathaniel, and this might hurt him, he did not cast Blood Moon because he didn't want to land destruction himself, right? He didn't want Ancient Tomb to only make 1. Itai's hand actually is Rishadan Port, Cavern of Souls, Karakas.
It's got a lot
actually works.
Itai's got a lot of Aether Vials hanging out in his hand, too.
So we're going to go over Nathaniel's turn. Rishadan Port's going to tap Ancient Tomb.
From here, though, Nathaniel has a backup Ancient Tomb. He could still Blood Moon if he really wanted to.
Well, we're not far before he's just going to cast this Inferno Titan. He has a Simian Spirit Guide and Inferno Titan in hand.
And if Itai just sits there porting Nathaniel for a while, that's not really going to do too much.
If Itai doesn't use port every turn, Inferno Titan's going to happen.
Right. And if he does port every turn,
it'll happen eventually.
Well,
anyway.
he's not accomplishing anything. He's not doing anything to actually win the game.
Plains here from Itai. He has a Flicker Wisp in hand that's not actually castable. He's going to cast Mirran Crusader and say go. So this opens the door for Inferno Titan. Maybe even more. See Seething Song picked up by Nathaniel.
And Infernal Titan, it's going to make Itai choose to keep one of these creatures because it can just kill them both with a trigger.
So 2 Ancient Tombs puts Red down to 14, but he casts Inferno Titan off Spirit Guide. 1 and 2, this is threatening to sweep the board. Itai has a choice, gets to save 1.
Maintains Mother of Runes. Unfortunately, going into the next turn, Nathaniel can just point more damage at the Mother with the Inferno Titan trigger. It can't soak up that much damage because it won't be able to block because it would then be tapped.
I mean, with Mother, basically, Itai is going to need a Swords to Plowshares for this game to work, right?
Well, he can't resolve that through Chalice of the Void. If he could Flicker Wisp away the Chalice and Swords the Inferno Titan.
Not enough white mana to make that play, but that is what he'd want to do.
Yeah, the Cavern being on human means that he's 2 lands off of that.
Plays an Arid Mesa, down to 19. You know, he might be able to take 1 Inferno Titan hit. It's not good, but he doesn't die, I don't think. Well, Nathaniel has a Seething Song in hand, so you actually do have to start counting here.
Right, yeah, the Inferno Titan does have fire breathing.
So it naturally swings for 9. Nathaniel probably cannot make 10 red. There's probably another turn here. That's a little much. Flicker Wisp from Ben Sasan. It'll target the Chalice of the Void. When it comes back, it'll have no counters on it. But now Inferno Titan's just going to mop up Itai's creatures. When it attacks, you see the Titan has the power of Arc Lightning.
So Nathaniel doesn't have a lot else going on. He has Blood Moon, Seething Song, Emrakul. He's not really close to Seething Songing into Emrakul.
Maybe. So, Inferno Titan. Arc Lightning's away Ben's creatures. Are we going to see the just Fire Breathes? Oh, we're going to make a big Fire Breathe here.
Just Blood Mooning.
Oh, Blood Moon. Okay, so it sits in for, puts Itai down to 12. Next turn, Inferno Titan should be lethal, so it has to be Swords to Plowshares from Ben Sasan.
And Nathaniel now has enough lands that he can Seething Song into his 6 drops if he draws one of them off the top. Or if he just draws Sneak Attack, he can Sneak Attack and then Emrakul and close this game out.
Karakas. Some of Nathaniel's win cons are legendary that can play here, but not right now.
Not under Blood Moon.
No, Aether Vial, Rin's Wingmare, Mother of Runes. The Seething Song in Nathaniel's hand should be lethal here.
Don't get to say that one too often.
5 lands in play. See, Inferno Titan attacks, kills both blockers. And He'll go ahead and Fire Breathe the Titan. On to game 2. Nathaniel Red wins it off an Inferno Titan.
Possibly the best Titan in the cycle.
That is, don't you ever say that. Absolutely not.
It's probably
You
true.
can say it's second best, and that's fine.
Yeah, Grave Titan is pretty good.
It's
You're
a
right.
fight for the silver medal here. All right, we're going to look at the sideboard. Start with Itai Bensasson. So he's got 14 different cards. A lot of the cards in his deck don't interact here. So when we look at Paths to Exile, that would have helped him here. It only works against some of Nathaniel's finishers. You know, he's got, when you look at the Mono Red Sneak Attack deck, the cards he's sneak attacking are Godo Bandit Warlord, Inferno Titan, Gristlebrand, Worldspine Worm, and Emrakul. So, yes to Worldspine Worm, yes to Inferno Titan, kind of to Godo, not really. Probably not to Gristlebrand. He's probably, I guess he still uses it. He's got a bunch of mopey cards.
Right.
Like Umezawa's Jite is probably not good here.
Yeah, does not inspire confidence. His Aether Sword Canonist is fine because there's going to be turns where Nathaniel needs to Seething Song into something. So that one's a reasonable card to bring in. But
Sure.
the Pithing Needle for Sneak Attack is also, that one just has to come in.
Right. So a lot of things, I guess, Council's Judgment, Leon and Relic Warder, Sanctum Prelates. These probably are maybe aren't good against the deck, but they're more interactive than a lot of the stuff in his main. So I actually would think a lot of the sideboard's coming in. Just,
Yeah.
You know, we can do better than Magus of the Moon.
Yeah, Grey Ogre is really not what you want to be casting here.
Even Mother of Runes is pretty terrible in this matchup.
Right. This is
Probably stays in, but
not about attrition.
all right, so they're going to get ready for a second game here. Now, for those of you watching us either on Twitch TV or on StarCityGames.com, what we do over with our subscription program at Twitch is you can join the feature match area and help us decide how decide where our coverage is going to go. So, for our subscribers, what we will do is at the end of this round, round 15, the top 8 starts an hour after that, but a half hour after the end of the round, we open voting as to what matches you want to see. We'll have the bracket on screen. And all the players, their names, the deck lists, and you will have a 15-minute window then to vote on what you want to see for our coverage when we start. You know, I heard that there's a blue-green Eldrazi post deck that top-pated that we haven't seen yet. That seems pretty sweet. Also, Elves, Andrew Jessup, just dominating. There's a lot to like in this top 8. Might even get a big mono red sneak attack deck.
Nathaniel Red on Mono Red. How can you root against that?
Still needs to re-sleeve his deck in red sleeves. Just all in. It's halfway there with the shirt. And we saw Itai, the first round, if you weren't watching earlier today, against Brennan DeCandio. Pulling off some really well-played games with White-Red Taxes. The sneaking of Magus of the Moon off Aether Vial likely won him the first game.
Yes.
It was a main phase Aether Vial activation into his Miracle's opponent. Said, okay, yeah, it's fine. You know, I don't know if you're playing Mirran Crusader or Recruiter of the Guard, but that's fine. And then he put it into play, and then there were a bunch of there was a fetch land and no
Did
white
not
mana.
Get to get
Yeah.
cracked. Yeah.
That slight dip into red certainly at least pay dividends there.
And the deck does not play a ton of red sources. There's 5 total fetch lands and 1 plateau. Cavern of Souls will technically fix you for casting Magus, but it's disguised as well, just like the basic planes are.
Turn 1, Aether Vial for Itai. A lot of this is a check on Nathaniel's deck. Now, Nathaniel has kept a 7, so you got to be worried. Certainly his good draws, Itai can't even touch. Mountain, Lotus Petal.
It's a lot of lands in Nathaniel's hand.
And Nathaniel's smart to get down that Lotus Petal in case a card like Thalia, Guardian of Thraben, might show up.
Yeah, when you have to spend a mana on Lotus Petal, it's not terribly impressive.
You're saving it for later.
Put
Kind
this
of
in
like
the mana bank.
It's like Pentad Prism, but you know, I do like, for the record, if I have Pentad Prism, I love when my opponent plays Thalia.
Yeah, you get to
I can
get
put
triple
3
Sunburst.
mana into it. Speaking of Thalia, here is going to be the 2-1. That can actually turn off a lot of the draws from Nathaniel's decks. And now he's banks his mana in another Lotus Petal with a Mountain. But see, he's got 5 mana for next turn. It's kind of what the deck does.
He has Through the Breach in hand.
Could pay for that through Thalia. But
Couple
what
City
card
of
comes through the
Traders.
breach? Wasteland will take care of the Ancient Tomb. That's a big play for Itai. Hits for 2. Now what Itai will need is a clock here. 2 damage a turn is all. Winning the game at 2 damage a turn is a lot to ask. But instead he's going to go with the mana. He'll port the mountain. He's Wastelanded the Ancient Tomb, and he has a Thalia in play. So all of this is good. Ancient Tomb from Nathaniel, can't do much. Lean in Relic Order in play. We're going to start taking those Lotus Petals.
It's a 2-mana 2/2 Stone Rain.
I mean, this has been great. Every turn here, Itai has removed a mana source from Nathaniel.
And this is the difference between looking at a deck list on paper and seeing it in action.
Yeah,
The
a
Death
paper
and
it's like,
Taxes deck,
no game.
You know, you have white creatures, whatever. There's a ton of play to Death and Taxes.
No, this, I would say, if you want to talk about in the last 2 years, the most improved award for Legacy has got to go to this deck. It's just every time a set comes out, it gets better. Remember when its win condition used to be Karakas with Mangara of Corindor? We get to play good cards now in Death and Taxes.
It's a very different time.
So, Rishadan Port takes care of Ancient Tomb and Nathaniel's upkeep. He gets to play City of Traders. He now has 4 mana to work with, but he's still working through a Thalia.
He picked up a sneak attack, but yeah, 4 is not enough for that one.
You think if Itai can get a Sanctum Prelate into play, he might be able to finish the lock. Though, even Sanctum Prelate, it's not clear what number it goes on.
He's going to want to pick 5 because Nathaniel will have access to 6 mana on his following upkeep. That's enough for Through the Breach.
Yeah, I mean, if he sees his hand, he would know that. But then, you know, sneak attack's a 4. Seething Song's a 3. You know, I guess Thalia checks Seething Song. Either way, he's got Nathaniel down to 14. Hits for 4. Nathaniel goes to 10.
Yeah, and by no means was I saying that he should read the situation for 5.
Oh,
5
yeah.
5 is just the number that plays here.
Right. Now don't if he taps that Karakas, I believe Nathaniel has Through the Breach Emrakul. So the most important thing, I know we'll see if Itai reads this right. He's going to go for a port, and that might be a fatal mistake here. Because now Nathaniel can pay for Through the Breach and Emrakul, and Itai does not have the Rishadan port or the Karakas up. So here's Through the Breach. And here is Emrakul. A miscalculation on the Death and Taxes player side, but wait, he'll Violent Flicker Wisp, or was it? Emrakul is gone. Now, when Emrakul comes back, Nathaniel's not going to have to sacrifice it.
But the Karakas will return it to his hand.
Right. So, speaking a little too soon to say miscalculation, Nathaniel knows exactly what he's doing. Or Itai does. Untaps here. Emrakul's in play, but it looks like he's going to have an answer to it. Okay, Karakas bounces Emrakul. An attack here. Now, Nathaniel does have a sneak attack in his hand and a Through the Breach. But upkeep ports the City of Traders. Sudden Shock for Nathaniel is not enough. Itai keeps the mana under control, and we're headed toward a 3rd game.
Though Nathaniel will be on the play here.
Yeah, I mean, that was some. I wanted to say first of all how impressive that is from Death and Taxes, that a deck full of white creatures is actually able to keep a combo deck like this under control is really impressive. But a lot has to go right. It's a good game plan by Itai, and he played it very well. I still think a lot has to go right for that to even work.
Yeah, there's also some other combination of cards that he could draw. It's also true that Nathaniel's hand, he did keep a 7, but it was pretty gummed up.
Yeah, now, you see, these players go ready for a 3rd game. A question I have for you here, can Itai win without Aether Vial? Because one of the things I liked in that game, he had to just spend so much time working on Nathaniel's mana. You know, he was porting it on turn 2. Turn 3 was Wasteland your land and port you again. And it seemed like every turn he needed all the mana denial he had. He needed Relic Order on Lotus Petal. And because all his mana was tied up in that strategy, I think all his threats entered the battlefield off Aether Vial. If there's no Vial, I don't know that Itai can do anything like that.
It's possible. Curving Thalia into Ring Wingmare, things like that. He'll still have some play even without a Vial, but as much as Sensei's Dividing Top is a very important card for Miracles to draw. Death and Taxes is just a different game, different deck when it controls Aether Vial.
Well, I mean, if it's what I'm getting at here is if Aether Vial is the only thing that matters, I guess. And Nathaniel doesn't really have Pithing Needles. He has Ingot Chewers. I don't know if he wants to go far enough to try to blow one up.
Yeah, I think that he's over sideboarding if that's his strategy. It is amusing to me that Nathaniel has so many cards that are just good cards for this matchup. The sideboard Sulfur Elementals, that is such bad news for Itai.
Yeah, he has Sulfur Elemental and Sudden Shock.
Kozilek's Return as well. That's another very powerful option.
Right, that Mother of Runes can't even stop that one.
Right.
This is, if Itai wins this will be a very well-deserved top 8. I also want to look at records for a second here. Itai, he's not 11-3.
No. Got a couple draws in there.
So this is why he has to play for top 8. Now the benefit means if Itai wins, he'll be the 2nd seed. He'll have the best record in the tournament outside of Andrew Jessup. That much is very impressive. All right, they're going to get ready for a 3rd deciding game. Nathaniel Red and Itai Ben Sasson. Now in just 2 weeks, we have the Amonkhet pre-release. That's happening stores around the country. And that also means the Amon Kitty playmat is available at stores all around the country. This is our custom art by our own Andrea Radek at Star City Games. This is given away at the Game Center in Roanoke, Virginia, and at all participating stores. You can find a store near you to get one at starcitygames.com/pre-release. Make sure you register today as supplies may be limited at your local store. The last out that Itai could have here is that sometimes Nathaniel's deck mulligans and mulligans a lot.
Right. Nathaniel could also keep a speculative hand and just miss.
I remember I play locally where there's a lot of this mono red deck. The scariest thing, first of all, I know the players who play it. They're all friends. You play against one of them and they look at their 7, they're just like, keep, and they got a big old smile on their face and you just think, oh dang, this is.
I got a close hand here. Can you just show me what you kept, and I'll let you know if I should waste my time playing against you.
Yeah. Oh, you're keeping another 7, huh? Oh, okay. That's cool. This happened when I wasn't playing a Force of Will deck. It was great. Itai mulligan to 6, he scries, keeps on top. Actually, go to the bottom, change his mind. Nathaniel starts off just on a mountain and a pass. Pithing Needle in the opener for Itai. I suppose you could just name Sneak Attack right now. There is a chance that your opponent does something like Land, Spirit Guide, Seething Song, Sneak Attack, Emrakul.
Yeah.
That's a lot of cards, but this is what the deck does.
There's really not other cards that are reasonable to name, right? It's just going to be for Sneak Attack.
Well, if you don't want Inferno Titan to Fire Breathe, Batter Skull, no, it's just Sneak Attack. It's really just Sneak Attack.
I don't like that 3 mana is being tapped here. This is scary.
Seething Song. Okay, Mother of Runes, no. Oh, up to 6. Oh, Godo, Bandit, Warlord. Okay, of all the 6s, this one's beatable. If it was Inferno Titan, I guess that's beatable by a path.
This Commander deck is really firing on all cylinders here.
It's going to go ahead and get Batter Skull. Goes ahead and gets Batter Skull. Now Godo not only just finds you a weapon, he's better than Stoneforge Mystic. He just puts it on the battlefield. He brings the weapon with him.
Godo is ready to rumble.
I guess it makes sense. A Squire, which is a Stoneforge Mystic, will bring you a weapon, whereas the Warrior just has it in his hand. He's already there. This is a scary turn 2 by Nathaniel, but this is beatable.
Yeah, really Inferno Titan would probably be more impressive from this spot.
Stoneforge Mystic from Itai. I mean, all the 6s that are just value creatures are beatable. You know, the thing to be worried about is something like Sneak Attack, Gristlebrand.
In particular now with Itai finding his own Batter Skull, he has Batter Skull Mother of Runes, whereas Nathaniel just has Batter Skull.
Got a Karakas to bounce that Godo.
Well, if you bounce the Godo, Nathaniel can cast it again and get his second Batter Skull.
Another player in the top 8, Sam Raucus on Miracles. He takes down the Miracles Mirror, and that will lock him for the top 8. We're going to pause the game for a second here. A City of Traders trigger was missed. The judge is going to have to make a ruling on that. I think the ruling is City of Traders is binned. So that will be in the graveyard. A big swing by Nathaniel. 4 lifelink and 3 from Godo. Godo didn't even untap. It's not really. Wow, just missing all the important triggers. No, that one really doesn't matter. Thalia, Guardian of Thraben for Itai. No more lands, though. Itai is down to 9. How does Stormforge Mystic die? Did he block? Godo swings a double block, and Mother of Runes will save herself, so Thalia trades with Godo. Itai down to 5, and Nathaniel gains more life. But really, with Mother of Runes here, blocking and giving herself protection from black, Itai actually has stabilized.
Nathaniel doesn't even gain life off of that.
Right. I don't think life gain is really where we're fighting. Itai's down to 1, rather, on that attack.
Well, some bad news for Itai. There is a sideboard card in Nathaniel's hand. It's a card that I've cast a few times in my day.
Oh, don't do it. Don't do it. It's Sulfur Elemental, isn't it? He passes, and Nathaniel draws. Ingot Chewer has come in. There's Ingot Chewer in his hand as well. The Revoker named Lotus Petal?
Not responding to that is a little peculiar.
I mean, sometimes you forget that it can do that.
That's
he
true.
can always Ingot Chew away the Revoker anyway.
True.
Nathaniel will attack. Itai blocks and gives protection from black. Here's Ingot Chewer evoked. Get rid of that Revoker.
Wisely chooses not to destroy his own Batterskull.
We're back to Itai. Still at 1. It looks like a Ether Vial's the draw. Leave up that Karakas, but you're right, Sulfur Elemental, if there's not a non-white blocker in Itai's hand, is going to win the game for Nathaniel. Ether Vial's not going to do it.
Oh yeah, that Ether Vial is much too late here.
Well, I mean, there aren't that many cards out of Nathaniel's deck that break this stalemate. But Sulfur Elemental's one of them, and this is going to send him to the top 8. Second Lotus Petal. Makes 3 mana. Sulfur Elemental, there's no responding to that. Mother of Runes is gone. It has split second. There are no blockers, and the Germ Token sends Nathaniel Red to the top 8. In 3, he defeats Itai Ben Sasson.
Big Red.
Congratulations here to Nathaniel.